Auzubillahiminash-shaytanir-rajeem. Bismillahir-rahmanir-rahim. Assalamu-alaikum. Ji-ayanum. Pakhair-ragale. Ni-hao. Chunashimme. Washmale. Ohaya Gonzaimis. Guten Morgen. Hola. Boyor. Privyet. Kaifa hal? Hale shumachatore. Ahlan wasalan. Marhaba. Buna. Mucho. Gracias. Suavia. Balli kare aaya. Thank you very much, everybody, for tuning into PTV World. You're definitely watching what this morning alongside Shahzad Hasan Khan. Ladies and gentlemen, first things first. And that is that I hope and pray that everybody out there is doing wonderfully well and that you're ready to kickstart your day with us. Ladies and gentlemen, it happens to be Tuesday. The weather over here in Islamabad is super perfect. And I like sunny days. That's the best part, because for the last, I think, a couple of days, we really didn't manage to see the sun, because I think the sun shied away right in front of the rain as well. So, finally, on Monday and now on Tuesday, I'm having a great, fantastic day. And this is how I think about each and every one of you out there. But very quickly, I think there are a lot of good news which I need to share with each and every one of you. So first things first, I think what we really need to do is that we really need to start from the courts of Pakistan, where, ladies and gentlemen, for the very first time, we actually have a lady who's actually taken oath as the judge of the court as well. So while we speak about this story, ladies and gentlemen, I believe it's very important to congratulate Justice Aisha, because I think that, this is history in the making, where we talk about inclusivity, where we actually talk about how equality does matter and how each and every individual needs to play a very pivotal and an important role, and that too inside, within the country, and probably outside the country as well. May it be our courts, may it be our offices, may it be our public offices, may it be our private offices. I believe that each and every individual needs to play a very crucial role. We might have images of her as well taking oath, because this is something which we wanted to share with you all as well. So, Mr. Producer, can we please have the images? Yes, let's do it together. All right, ladies and gentlemen, so this is history in the making, where Justice Aisha Malik makes history in Pakistan's judicial system by becoming the first female judge of the Supreme Court of Pakistan. Yesterday, Justice Aisha took the oath as a judge of the Apex Court administered by Chief Justice of Pakistan, Justice Gulzar Ahmed. She had been officially elevated to the rank of a judge of the Apex Court on Friday. Justice Umar Ata Bandial, who has been nominated as the next judge of Pakistan, and other judges attended the oath-taking ceremony. With Justice Aisha taking the office as an Supreme Court judge, the Apex Court attains the strength of 17 judges. Wow! What a wonderful news. So congratulations to Justice Aisha and to everybody who's out there who's related to her as well. And Justice Aisha, since you happen to be the daughter of soil, you've done a great job. Congratulations. Yes, but now moving on, there's a lot more other news coming in as well, which I believe is good for Pakistan. Because, ladies and gentlemen, whenever we talk about any sport or any sporting event, because just on Saturday, there was this title fight which took place. World Boxing Council came down to Pakistan and Muzaffar won the title. But not just that. I think what I want to refer to over here is how our cricketers have made sure that they are going to bring in and pitch in all of those sorts of performances which were required of them as well. So I think we really need to congratulate each and every one of them, and that too one by one. So the T20 Cricketer of the Year goes to Mohammad Rizwan. A very well-deserved. Just in the year 2021, he's actually made 17 records with 1,326 runs in 29 matches. Mohammad Rizwan has been phenomenal. He's had more than 2,000 runs within one cricketing year. But speaking about T20 in particular, 1,326 runs in 29 matches. Ladies and gentlemen, wow. I think that was the most fantastic performance. And which is why there are a few people I would really love to congratulate. But after we get down with all sorts of good news as well, because there are 4 Pakistani players, ladies and gentlemen, who've made Pakistan proud. So moving on, the ICC Cricketer of the Year, ladies and gentlemen, goes to Mr. Shaheen Shah Afridi. It's even known as, or aka, Sir Garfield Trophy, ICC Men's Cricketer of the Year, with 78 wickets within 1 year. I think his best was against India, and that too in the World Cup, where I think he took 3 wickets, or probably 4. I can be wrong, but I think I'll be absolutely right on the 4th one as well, or the 3rd one. But yes, all right. And yes, how can we skip the skipper? Ladies and gentlemen, the skipper has been awarded with the One-Day International Player of the Year as well, and that too by ICC. Imagine 425 or more runs within 6 one-day international matches, where if we talk about the one-day international matches, that's quite low. The number is quite low in one cricketing year. but I think he did a great job. Skipper, you are phenomenal, you're fabulous, and the way you have gelled in our team and the way you perform and the way you are on the field is something phenomenal. But not just that. Wow, I think for all of those women cricketers, there's a lot of inspiration to take away, because when we talk about Fatima Sana, she won the ICC Emerging Cricketer of the Year award with 24 wickets and 165 runs in 16 matches. Well, so the average comes down to 16.5 as well. But Fatima Sana, way to go. You've done a great job, and this is what we want for Pakistan as well. But at this point of time, ladies and gentlemen, I would really want to congratulate, first of all, Ramiz Raja, the chairman, Pakistan Cricket Board, Mohammad Wasim. He's been a phenomenal chief selector as well. But not just that. I think if we go back into year 2021, Mohammad Wasim was already there, but we really need to kind of thank Mr. Bakar Yunus, Mr. Misbah Ulaq, Mr. So everybody who's contributed to it, and the players who did perform individually. But not just that. I think what we really need to thank is the entire team, because only then it's possible. When you play as a team, only then you make your country proud. But with that, since we know that the PSL anthem is out there as well, and Pakistan Television Sports is actually now in contract with PCB, so we have every right to play it. So the name says Aage Dekh and PSL 7 level hai. Let's go, let's take a listen early in the morning. Atif Aslam, Aima Beg and Abdullah Siddiqui did a great job. Let's do this. All right, ladies and gentlemen, so that was the HBL PSL 7 anthem Aage Dekh. Well, certainly at times, this is something which I actually came across, that whenever, your friends try to be rude with you, that the first thing they're going to say to you is, Chalna yaar, aage dekh ya. So things like that. But PCB, you've done a great job as well. For everybody who actually want to hear something on PSL, ladies and gentlemen. So obviously, on the 27th of January, PSL 7 is going to kickstart, and that to National Stadium, Karachi, till the 27th of February. A lot of wonderful matches are going to take place, where Sarfaraz actually announced from Quetta Gladiators, because he happens to be the captain as well, that he might not be utilizing Shahid Afridi in all of the matches, but it might be because of the fact that he's such a senior player, so he really does not want him to wear out as well. So he will be utilizing Mr. Shahid Afridi in a few matches, where I think it will be make or break situation for Quetta Gladiators. The NCOC the other day released that they said that only 25% of the audience will be allowed to enter the stadium. So for anybody and everybody who's out there, please make sure that you log on to bookitnow.pk and get your tickets as soon as possible, because only 25% audiences are going to witness this history in the making for PSL 7. What a wonderful brand. We love it. Thank you very much, Ramiz Bhai, for each and everything you've done, because that's how the trajectory of Pakistan's cricket team is right now, and that's how we want it to be. On the other hand, I think let's not talk about South Africa versus India, because India was thrashed by South Africa, and right after Virat Kohli left, ladies and gentlemen, I think that the Indian team is just, their trajectory is just like that. But having said that, I think it's about time that we kind of get started with our conversation with what we wanted to talk about, because in the first place, everybody now knows that when we talk about the infectious disease, such as when we talk about the viral COVID, Omicron, the percentage is increasing every single day. The number of patients is increasing every single day. The first part, which I and everybody believe, is that thank God that it's not lethal and fatal as well, but God forbid it can go the other way. But now what we are witnessing is that the schools are shutting down. People are going in quarantine as well. They're in isolation. And we as social beings, ladies and gentlemen, when we talk about humans, we are social beings, and we really need to connect. We sit down with people. We really need to share what we feel that we really need to put out there in front of our friends and family. We really do not get that opportunity. God forbid if we are in quarantine, or if we are in isolation, or God forbid if we have a viral just like Omicron or COVID out there as well. So what we really need to do is that we really need to kind of talk about, God forbid, if you come into a situation where you have a lot of anxiety, where you have a lot of depression, where you have a lot of issues thinking to yourself that, hey, you know what, why do I do this wrong? And when you're so hard on yourself that, hey, you know what, I should have been there, but, I kept on sleeping, or whatever the problem might probably be. Because this is how I think. And Alhamdulillah, because this is the kind of conversation I was having with my father just yesterday. I was like that, there are days when I think that, I would have given 200%, but I've only delivered 150%. And then he's like, hey, you know what, just settle down, you really do not have to be so hard on yourself. All you need to do is wake up, dress up, and show up. And that is something which you really need to do every single day. And to talk about this, ladies and gentlemen, we are very lucky that we've actually been joined by somebody who happens to be a spiritual coach. Well, I was waiting for this as well, and a healer. And she happens to be Miss Rabia Sayyed. Hello, assalamu alaikum, good morning.
Assalamu alaikum. It was a very sweet introduction. Thank you so much. And you have great energy, mashallah.
Thank you very much for saying that, and it's wonderful to kind of know that, and it's because of the fact that we know when such a compliment comes from a spiritual healer, I seriously mean and I take it as a compliment because I know that they mean it as well. So thank you very much for being with us.
Genuinely, you have a great energy, you vibrate on a very higher level. Let's be a little complicated.
I keep on vibrating too
yes,
as
on
well.
a spiritual frequency.
Thank you very much for saying that. It's wonderful. But you heard me right, because where when we talk about human beings, we want to connect socially, and if we do not connect socially for a longer period of time, there are thoughts which come to our mind, and it can actually mess up our mind as well, and it does. And we still know that not even because of COVID, this is something I used to tell my audiences in 2016 and 17, that the year 2020 and the years ahead of that will be the years where mental illnesses will actually be on a high rise as well. And this is something we are witnessing. There are newer cases of depression and anxiety coming up every single day. And when we talk about Pakistan, obviously we're not so concerned about our diet. So there's hypertension, there's cholesterol, and there's multiple other problems. We really do not want to exercise. And they say that, that the best doctors are air, good food, sun, and exercise. So please, what's your take on this in the first place? And why do you think people do get mentally ill? Do you think that they're so hard on themselves that they kind of punish themselves? What is the main reason?
Anxiety, depression, or fear to me is a trigger of sometimes external influences, and also sometimes it triggers from within. Let's say a past trauma, or a mental trauma, or an incident that keeps on triggering. So the first step to me is to be very, very aware of how you're feeling, what you're feeling, it shows on your body as well,
That it does.
Right? It's like you feel the sensations, sometimes there are people complain that they get goosebumps when they go somewhere.
Or they hear their heartbeat.
That's true.
Yeah.
Heartbeat is, palpitation, thak, 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 thak. Nervousness, anxiety, fear, depression, phobias, it all comes with the conditioning of the mind.
True. So, because you mentioned about the external reasons as well, so, let's dig into that as well, and then I will take you down the path where I certainly want to talk about all of these conditions and how people can get better. So what can be those external factors which can actually have an impact on your mental health?
So let's say childhood trauma is a major thing, it goes back into your subconscious mind. Any incidents, any, heartbreaks or difficult childhood, heartbreak is the most common these days. Like I get a lot of calls from the younger generation. That wo dil toota hua.
So then how do you fix it?
The first thing I would say is to be aware of how you're feeling. You have to be spiritually aware, and I know that it's going a little bit more deeper here, but I feel that self-awareness is the key to fix yourself emotionally, mentally, physically, in every way. Like when you were talking about physical fitness also, it's like you have to love yourself, you have to know your worth. Normally what people do, what they do is they want acknowledgement from outside. And
they want people to recognize them as who they are.
Exactly, and we do not give enough words to our own selves.
Exactly, that's true, and which is why there's one more important aspect which I would love to connect over here, because we're connecting the dots so that each and every individual out there is mentally fit, is spiritually fit, emotionally fit as well, and physically fit. But now what I have realized in my life over these years, and I want you to kind of comment on that as well, because while we were growing up, we grew up in a household where पुत्र कुछ नहीं होता, लड़के तो रोते ही नहीं, the boys don't cry and nothing's going to happen and you have to be strong. And I believe that it's great because it has helped me recuperate, it has helped me recover, because I think the most major aspect of me recovering from each and every external factor or internal factor is to kind of recognizing all of those thoughts which were in my head, because what we do is that we have this habit of brushing things under the carpet. What we do is that we really do not kind of concentrate on that thought which is coming or triggering again and again, over and over again in your mind and it disturbs your peace. So all you have to do is recognize that thought in the first place,
Recognize it, yeah.
and then kind of do whatever you want to do in your capacity. So how do we recognize that, God forbid, that's the problem? Because I've shared my story. God forbid I'm supposed to do something, I will do it. Otherwise, I would not sign up for it. But you know, while you're over there, there are so many other factors that you wanted to give you 200%, but you were at 150%, and only you realize that. The other people or the people right in front of you will never realize it. And then when you come back home, you're like, hey, you know what, Allah gave me this opportunity, I should have utilized it more,
Yeah.
and I'm hard on myself.
Yeah.
So how do we help ourselves?
You know, like you said, you know, recognition is very, very important.
True.
You know, going within, going inwards, knowing how you're feeling. If there is something that is holding you back, if there is something that is, you know, triggering when you, let's say, if somebody is losing confidence, or there is a fear of failure because they have been rejected in the past, let's say in a job interview, you know that causes a lot of fear. So going backwards, and you know, going within, and then being aware. See, there are so many therapies. You can go to the counselors, you can go to the psychologist and all. But we need to educate ourselves that it comes within. We need to empower our own mind. Mind.
Thank you for saying that.
Yeah, mind is the master planner. Mind is everything. You know, जैसे अल्लाह ताला ने कहा है कि सब अशरफुल मखलूकात है.
True.
Right, so there is a lot of potential that we don't use.
Yeah.
There is a simple tip I'd like to share.
Maybe certainly there are a lot of people who just do not use, you know, so they do not use this part of their body, and hence, you know, they land in problems.
Like Einstein was only one that used his mind.
8%?
12%.
12%?
After he died, they did a research on his brain. They kept his brain.
Yeah.
And then normal average person uses only 1 to 2%.
That's it.
Yeah, and people like you probably 5 to 6%.
Only 1 or 2%, I think, I fall in the same category. But it's great that we have rectified and we have identified that, okay, these are the problems which can actually lead you towards anxiety and depression. But now, before we move on towards depression, I think that the first step is anxiety, and people who are not able to control or kind of confiscate their own anxiety by themselves actually lead themselves towards depression. And, you know, because continuous anxiety will have problems. People have digestion problems because of anxiety. People throw up quite a lot. People get ill. People get tremors. And there's a lot of other array of different exhibits which anybody will come on or will come out with. So let's talk about anxiety first. How can we control it? How do we realize or understand that we might have an issue with, you know, anxiety or other problems? We might be overthinking. How do we identify these issues?
So when you wake up in the morning, and if you're feeling that there is, you know, your energy is all over the place, you're not in the right frame of mind, you're feeling hopeless, you're feeling demotivated, heaviness on your body, energetic heaviness sometimes, then people call it kala jadoo.
Okay, yeah.
A lot of times in Pakistan.
They do.
Yeah. Oh, mujhse utha nahi jata subah. So do I have kala jadoo on me?
Inability to work.
Inability to work, right? So when you feel that you have lack of energy, you have heart palpitations, you are feeling fear, you know, first recognize it, then talk about it.
Okay. With who?
With the people that you love.
Oh,
people that
putter
you're
kuch nahi
close
ho
to.
gaya, Amisha ko. Dekh, mera bhi dil aisi dhadak raha hai. Things
Yeah,
like that.
that's exactly what happens. Then again, do not, you know, get certified by other people. Do not get recognition from other people.
Yeah.
You know, if you are feeling it, be confident about it. Then you can definitely go to, you know, somebody who's an expert, like in counselors, certified, you know, there are doctors. And if there is, you know, extreme cases, let's say suicidal thoughts, like sometimes middle of the night.
But that's somewhere where we're going to move on to depression, and then we'll talk about this. Well, let's get done with anxiety
just about
first.
the anxiety. So when you recognize that you have, you know, those symptoms where you are feeling like little anxious, restless, and you're, you know, not in the right frame of mind, then what I honestly feel is that if there is nobody that you can literally talk to, if there is nobody that you feel that there is nobody is able to understand you, then you try and heal yourself, you know, go out, you know, bring a change in your life, drag yourself, pick up yourself, because you are important, you are worthy.
True.
You know, so get out. And if you don't want to work, okay, change your routine, you know, go to the nature. Nature heals, nature calms down. And colors, you know, be with nature, be with positive people, or look out for people. If you don't even want to, okay, some people are shy, they don't want to talk about their symptoms to anyone.
Yeah.
Then sit in a company of good, positive people, you know, people that uplift your soul.
True. And it's important because, just yesterday I was reading a book and there was a line which kind of, is going to stay with me forever. And it said that, always make sure that you are actually sharing a room with people who are successful with whatever they're doing, because they will always have a very different sort of conversation from the conversation you really do have with other people. But now at this point of time, what we really kind of need to talk about is that, okay, before we move on to the depression aspect of it, it's very important where you said that you have to push yourself, you have to gather yourself, and it's life is a journey, ladies and gentlemen. That's one thing. I think there are two sides to it, because either you think about life as if it's very hard, or either you think about life that it's the only party you'll ever be at.
It's your perception.
Yeah, it's your perception, and the way you take it, that's how things will be coming to you. Because I'm an avid believer of that. Whatever you think, that's what you're attracting to yourself. And so if it's good, good will come to you. If, God forbid, if it's a lot of insecurity, if it's a lot of pressure, if it's a lot of other things which might not even should bother you, and you start to think about all of those things, ladies and gentlemen, you're attracting those things. Do you think that this phenomenon is correct? Because it has always worked for me. If I start to think good about something, good will happen, alhamdulillah. And you always pray to Allah Almighty that Allah may please, yaar acha sa kar de. So does that actually happen?
See, this is called law of attraction.
Yeah.
What you think you become. My teacher used to say, think positive, you will attract positive, and this is 100% true.
कि अच्छा होगा यार इंशाल्लाह.
अच्छा होगा, and it's okay. There is a divine timing. We have to believe that there is God's timing, there is universe timing. And aaj, if we are, focusing on something, if you are imagining something good, it'll happen sooner or later.
True.
You will create your own reality. This is very, very. To me, it does. Since I was a kid, I have noticed I'm a very imaginative person.
Wow.
So I imagine something and it
makes
happens.
the two of us, yeah. Very imaginative, because
Right?
otherwise, if you are to kind of just look at things which are right in front of you, you cannot go outside the box. So
That's
to be
so
outside the
true.
box, you have to be imaginative.
Yeah, that's so true. When I was little, I will share a little story. When I was little, I used to be, I would watch TV and I would always want to pretend as if I am on TV.
Okay.
And now in our family, there is nobody into the media.
Yep,
and
I get that.
And I would just, start my own cooking show. I was only 4 or 5 years old.
Wow.
And I would, act and I would do things. So here I am in front of you, right? So it happens without any intentional
Second
effort.
day in a row. Yes, so what you're trying to say is that there's this law of attraction and you can actually pull whatever you're thinking about. So if it's good, good will come to you. God forbid if you start to think about. And there's a very amazing story which I want to share over here as well, because there's a time when you were actually very happy and you're like, okay, Allah Mia, please, thank you very much for everything in my life. You're full of gratitude. Because a heart which is actually going to be satisfied needs to be full of gratitude in the first place. This is what I believe, and this is what I want people to believe as well. Okay, whatever condition you may probably be in, always make sure that you really need to thank Allah Almighty. And so there was this time in my life when, so everything was going super normal, alhamdulillah. So I love cars, I love horses, and I love dogs. So these are the 3-4 things which I like, and that too passionately, and I dedicate myself to all of these things. So since I'm in so much love with my cars, and everything was going normal, so just one day, I started to think that, God forbid, what if the car, I bump into somebody else and someone else bumps into me and things like that. And imagine the next 2 days, 2 cars got bumped into somebody else as well. One by my younger brother, and one by my brother-in-law as well. So imagine that, just when you start to think about it, those things start to happen. So why go the negative route when we can actually go to the...
There is something I want to say.
Sure.
But that could be your own intuition also. Like earlier too, you were
that it might happen.
Earlier too, that you were saying that in 2016-17, you mentioned that 2020-22 would be, very emotionally draining years.
True.
So how did you know?
Just like that, I don't know, because
See?
I just thought about it, and I've mentioned it on my show a couple of times as well. So, okay, how do we differentiate in between intuition, or because intuition would certainly be like, oh, something good is going to happen or something bad is going to happen. That's intuition, sixth sense, okay? And how do we differentiate in between this and that, God
Fear.
forbid if it's anxiety or fear or insecurity?
When you have this genuine, see, it's all about feelings and, vibrations and sensing it.
Yeah.
So if you're feeling something really on your heart, if it's, it's like it consumes your energy, if you just feel it.
Yeah.
and it feels very real, then
True.
it means it's intuition. But then even then, let's say sometimes I
But
get...
we cannot do anything about it.
You
No?
cannot do anything about it.
Yeah,
You
it's going to
can only...
happen.
It's going to happen, yeah.
It's like this season on Netflix and the name is Manifest. Have you seen that?
No.
I would want anybody and everybody to kind of see that, where people get these voices in their heads,
Yeah.
and then those things happen.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
called psychic ability. It's called clairvoyant and clairvoyance abilities, yeah.
Wow, and we'll talk about that, and we really need to talk about spiritual healing as well. But let's move on to depression, because when we come down to depression, it's a mental illness. Thank God, alhamdulillah, that people over here in Pakistan have started to realize that it is a serious illness, and that whoever is going through it, they really need a lot of attention. But what I want to talk about is that, if you are to kind of make sure that your whoever it is, a loved one, a brother, a sister, or somebody in your family, it's going to be a collective effort to get them out of that mental state. Because with depression, I think that the first ever symptoms would be the inability to work, the inability to live, or probably, no hopes to have a good life. And then just being in your bed, not being able to do anything, not being able to eat food, have food. And with depression, what I've seen is that, that the doctors, they give them those medications where they're just falling asleep. And that's it. And they do not recover for the next 6, 7, 8 years, because that trigger is still there. So we're not focusing on the root cause. Rather, what we're doing is that we want to make sure that their day-to-day agony is not there anymore. So, what do you have to say about that?
To me, it's a spiritual problem.
Okay.
To me, I feel that there are only two paths where you can heal your depression, extreme depression, acute depression. One is medical science. Just if you're a if you don't believe in the spiritual realm or spirituality,
Yep.
then you follow the scientific path. But again, like you said, they put you on medications where you sleep. But there are very good medications these days nowadays, where they just work on your chemical imbalance, and then it just stops
Endorphins?
something like that, and but that is more on a psychiatric level. But I feel that if you are feeling inability to work, if you're drained, if you're feeling negative, only spiritual approach can heal you. There is no other power. Only you can help yourself first. क्योंकि लोग भी नहीं समझेंगे इस बात को. Nobody will understand how you're feeling, because people don't actually like depressive people.
True.
If you're mom
And you
comes
get that
in your room-
energy. You get that. I think the energy is getting a little dark over here, so probably, I want to go somewhere else.
Yeah, that's true. Because you project, and even if you don't say anything, you project that heavy dark energy.
True.
And people feel it. So it's like auras. You absorb each other's
Chakras.
energies. Yeah, chakras.
Yeah, chakras, yes. Chakras is like very Pakistani
ये हमारा
word,
उर्दू.
though. We also chakra de diya, but chakra, yeah. Thank you very much for correcting me. I stand corrected as well. So very quickly, towards the end of this segment as well, do you have any exercises where we can heal spiritually? Well, obviously, spiritually, you really need to pray 5 times a day. Make sure that you pray tahajjud, ask Allah Mia for whatever you want in life. Because, that aura or that chakra we're talking about, it's not self-created. You have it, and you cannot help it. So, for anybody to have a negative chakra or a negative aura, it's not them to blame, but it might be those incidents in their life which have actually brought them to a point where it's happening. So, we really need to be nice to each and every one. We're not kind of suggesting that you really need to stay away from people, because if people will stay away from ill people, how are we going to fix them? We need to do it together. So how do we, do you have any exercises to recommend that, okay, do this, once or twice a day, and that you will feel great?
I would definitely, say to everyone that we should support people that have mental health issues, because sometimes it's just phases, and sometimes it's genetic also. So being aware.
Sometimes it's blackmailing as well.
Yeah, it's very, very blackmailing.
It is.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've seen that myself. But, you cannot risk it. Even the parents cannot risk it as well. So, any exercise you would recommend?
See, deep breathings do help. Also, I know that you are a yoga expert, right?
No, I'm not.
No?
But I know for sure that, God forbid, if you're under stress, only remember to breathe. That's it.
Yeah.
And it will help.
That's true. See, there is one major philosophy that I believe is that pray to God that you want to heal yourself. When you keep on repeating that 40 days, let's say we take 40 days and we keep repeating in the morning, at night, timings are very important. When you are about to sleep, when you are in a state of, meditative state,
Yeah.
that time, and when you are waking up from your bed, from before getting up from your bed, those two important times where you manifest your thoughts very easily. So it's like dua kabul hoti.
Yeah.
So you just, all you have to do is, you can call it affirmations or prayer, just say that I am feeling better and better, or oh God, please help me feel better. I want to get out of this. I am getting out of it. Please,
So attract that.
attract
towards you.
that. When you, all you have to do is just do this. If you cannot do anything, just do this for 40 days. Repeat it again and again and again, and 100% in 40 days you'll see a difference.
Inshallah. Well, that's wonderful. Thank you very much, Ms. Rabia, for being with
Thank
us. It was lovely to be in conversation with you. And ladies and gentlemen, I think whatever she said, she made absolute sense. Please make sure you do that, because every single day when I wake up, first of all, I'm thankful to Allah Almighty for giving me another opportunity. Second, I always pray, Allah me please mera din bahut acha guzare, aur main umeed karta hu aapka bhi guzare. But for everybody who's out there, ladies and gentlemen, at this point of time, we're actually heading out towards a short break. When you guys will come back, we actually have a hack which is going to actually help you have a lot of energy. And not just that, we actually have a youngster joining us who's written a book. Let's see what the book is all about. Good morning. All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. Thank you very much for staying tuned to PTV World. You're watching World this morning alongside Shahzad Hassan Khan. Earlier, we were in conversation with Ms. Rabia Saeed, who happens to be a spiritual healer and a coach as well. And we want each and everybody to actually be happy and mentally fit, emotionally fit, and spiritually fit, and physically fit as well. But not just that, ladies and gentlemen, at this point of time, we really need to share this news, because when I talk about our superstars and people who have contributed towards the arts and culture of the country, it's really important that we kind of remember the contributions of all of those people who might have left us, but their work will always be in our hearts as well. Such was the state of Miss Ruhi Bano as well. It's her death anniversary today. And, there's a lot of prayers for this amazing lady who's contributed to the drama industry and to the film industry as well. Because when we talk about Miss Ruhi Bano, she was a versatile actress, has joined the TV fraternity when she was doing her MSc in psychology from the Government College Lahore. And Miss Ruhi acted in a few films, but television was where her heart was. Her outstanding performances in Kila Kahani, Zard Gulab, and several other drama serial, ladies and gentlemen, where she did perform really well, and she actually had casted a spell on the hearts of audiences of millions of people out there as well. But unfortunately, Bano's only son was murdered in Lahore in 2005, after which she had abandoned her career and led a reclusive life in Lahore. And to be very honest, I think this is what we were referring to while we were talking about in the first segment as well, where how mental health is so important. Imagine losing a loved one as well. So Miss Ruhi Bano, a lot of prayers for you as well, and may your soul rest in peace, patience for the bereaved, for the entire family who's out there. You'll always be in our hearts and you will always rule them. But now, coming down to where I wanted to talk about how youngsters these days, alhamdulillah, are contributing towards a good name of Pakistan as well. Such is an example of where in the studios with us, where we have a wonderful child who's actually written a novel herself for the very first time, and we want to promote her, ladies and gentlemen. She happens to be Miss Halima Malik. Hello, assalamu alaikum, good morning, how are you? Thank you very much for joining us. It's wonderful to have you. How are you doing today?
I'm doing well, thank you.
Wow, that's wonderful. I like the energy, even though it's on the lower side, but it's great. We're talking about your first ever novel, which says "The Sky We Own." Why in the first place? It's your days to play, be out in the ground with your friends, whatever games you like to play, and you're here writing novels. Why are you doing so?
I have always been interested in current affairs, and I've always liked creative writing, and I've participated in story writing competitions.
Wow.
So it's always been my passion to write.
Wonderful. And then, how do you fulfill this passion? So you always want to write about kind of current affairs, or do you want to kind of experience yourself into entertainment as well and infotainment?
This book is not based on fiction. It's about Kashmir.
All right, yes.
So I'm more interested in current affairs, not fantasy.
Wow, that's wonderful. But for a writer, there's one thing which I've always had in my head, and that is that because a lot of people quote a lot of books, so which means that a lot of research needs to go into it before anybody and everybody starts to write, because people quote you, and then when people quote you, they really want to be true and they really want to be honest on their facts as well. So how much research went into it, and why do you think that there was a need for you to write a book about Kashmir?
This book took me 2 years of research.
Wow.
And it was written in 3 months. I wanted to write on Kashmir because after Article 370 was revoked,
Yep.
I knew that I had to research on this topic and know for myself what the real issue is.
Wow.
And when I researched about it, I think I got to know that if I ever wrote a book, it deserved to be about Kashmir.
Yep.
Because the issue is a prevailing dilemma on which Pakistan, India, and many other countries are working.
Which is why I would certainly want to know, your narrative of Kashmir as well, because thank you very much for saying, because that actually makes me feel that you have the same heart each and every Pakistani has for the people living in the Indian illegally occupied Kashmir. And after the siege, I think that, their life has just gotten more miserable, and, not having the right to self-determination is one thing that their fight has been on as well. And this line over here, this amazing beautiful daughter of the soil has written, when they fight, even the death surrenders. And it takes a lot of observation to come up with such a line as well. So how was the process of it, and what's your narrative?
My narrative of Kashmir is that the people, they cannot be suppressed, and they need to be given the choice. They need to decide what they want for themselves.
True.
No one can dictate them. If they want to go to India, it is their choice. If
Yep.
they want to join Pakistan, it is their choice. And if they want independence, their voice should be heard.
Exactly.
Their voice is suppressed, and I think that their narrative is that they just want peace.
Exactly.
Nothing else.
And since I've done a lot of shows as well with a lot of people who used to live in Indian illegally occupied Kashmir, and they represent a lot of political parties who are amidst a struggle towards self-determination, and they want to talk about plebiscite. but with all of that ethnical cleansing taking place within the Indian illegally occupied Kashmir, how people are brought into that region to make sure that, God forbid, if there is a day when the plebiscite needs to take place, you know how it's going to go. So I think it's great, but for any reader who's out there, you know, who might know what the current situation might probably be, what do you think he or she will get out of this novel of yours?
This novel just highlights.
And why do we call it a novel when everything is actually based on research?
Everything is based on research, but the characters in this are not real.
Okay.
It's a captivating story which tells the struggles of the Kashmiri people, the youth in specific.
Wow.
And it tells how they struggle every day, how each day is a war for them.
True. I think it's great that you've actually pinpointed that, you know, for any individual who's actually going to read this book, maybe it be all over the world, will finally realize that how a day-to-day life of an person living in Indian illegally occupied Jammu and Kashmir is, which I believe is great. But now what I want to kind of talk about is that, you know, when such vibrant and amazing writers like you know, they come up with such a very hard topic, it's a hard topic, and it's not even easier for a person like me to kind of talk about it. Don't you think that, you know, that people towards the end, because, you know, the name actually gives me a lot of hope, The Sky We Own. And when we talk about such a topic where we have seen a lot of misery, where we've seen a lot of deaths, where we have seen a lot of people going blind, where there's no rule of law for them as well, that towards the end, when you read a novel, you really need a nice finish, right? And you want a very happy ending, and you want, I mean, that's the kind of a person I am. You know, if I'm reading a book, I want it to have a very happy ending as well. So what's your take on this? So for anybody who's going to read this book, what kind of a journey will they be on? And after reading this book, what are the facts that they'll be more aware of? And then what is the kind of ending, I mean, if you want to give it away beforehand?
This book tells the struggles. First of all, I don't know if many people know about Kashmir, especially the youth.
Yep.
Because people have
That's
turned a blind eye towards Kashmir.
True.
Not many people know about the current issue in Kashmir, and they think that this is just history. However, the Kashmir issue is still prevalent. So this book will highlight the journey of a girl
Yep.
who has always wanted peace, but how her perspective changes and how she fights for the freedom of Kashmir.
Wow.
The ending gives a lot of hope,
Yeah.
because the ending is true. The ending is true, and it is a true depiction of Kashmir.
Yep.
How the end of every Kashmiri child or youth is.
Wow, that's wonderful, and it's wonderfully explained as well. So, you know, you're actually on a journey where you want the youngsters of the world to know what the problem of the people of Indian illegally occupied Kashmir is, and I believe it's brilliant. Would you mind if I read a few lines from the novel?
Yes, of course.
All right, so ladies and gentlemen, this is chapter 30, I believe, and Salar Burhan Kashmiri, Mujahideen headquarters. Salar was mortified after Maha's episode. He found it hard to face Kishan and Zarar. He turned around and began to think of how he should apologize for her inappropriate behavior. Zarar bhai, I'm sorry, I don't know what's wrong with her. He nodded. Give us some space. I think it's normal to do things like this after everything. He was right. Kishan, she's just, he waved his hand, forget it. So, oh wow, it's just written so wonderfully. Even the emotions are there as well, and the reactions are there as well, which I believe is great. But I think what is more important for me is to kind of read the acknowledgements she's made. So imagine what she says. So this very wonderful daughter of the soil, Miss Halima Malik, actually in her acknowledgements state, the author of this novel would like to salute the people of Kashmir for their everlasting resilience. The stone pelters, the teachers, the journalists, the politicians, the shopkeepers, the doctors, the columnists, the lawyers, the policemen, the people of the world who have talked against the illegal occupation, most of all, the warriors of Islam. I might have only written a few pages, spent a few pots of ink, spared a few minutes of my life, used a small portion of my mind, but I assure you that this book is not the end of my jihad, it's just the beginning. Wow. And you know, they say that the best of the jihad, you know, if you cannot be out there fighting, either you kind of write it down, or either if you say it, or either you just say it in your heart as well, which I believe you've done a great job. How do you think people can get their hands onto this novel of yours?
This novel is getting printed at the moment.
Wow.
And they can get it through DM me
Okay.
And also there is a link of the Dastan where they can buy the online copy.
Oh, that's wonderful. So how can they DM you? Do you want to share your Instagram handle as well?
Yes, of course.
Go ahead.
It's at The Sky Beyond.
It's at The Sky Beyond. So ladies and gentlemen, please make sure that you kind of get in touch with Miss Salima Malik as well to get this book as well, because this journey of hers is the beginning of her jihad as well, where she's writing a book for people who really need to have their own right to self-determination as well. Thank you very much, Ms. Halima, for joining us. It was wonderful to be in conversation. And for each and every one of you who's out there, ladies and gentlemen, you know, no excuses, yes? Because, you know, if such a wonderful lady is sitting over here is making sure that she's going to raise her voice, she knows her way out as well. All you need to think about over here is what is the right way to do things, and that's the right way. Please make sure that you write to us on our Facebook page, which is with the name of World This Morning. On Twitter, Daily Motion, and YouTube, it's World This Morning as well. Make sure to catch the repeat at 5 past midnight. Till the next time, look after yourselves. 1, 2, 3. Good morning.